I met Elvis, a very different Elvis than let's say I know today, because obviously I didn't know anything about what I know now. I saw a very innocent, very, very vulnerable Elvis Presley. Someone who just lost his mother a year before I met him. Very insecure on where he was in his music career, in his movie career. I'd heard a little bit about Elvis, but not to the extent of really knowing his music. I don't think I'd even gone to a movie at that time. I think I probably saw his first movie at the age of 13. And then obviously I had, his record, and it all started making sense, on who he was.
What happened the first time you met? What were your feelings about him instantly?
Well, very, very nervous. I was very, very shy growing up, and finding the right thing to wear was the first and most important thing, because I didn't want him to know how old I was. I was only in the 9th grade, just went into the 9th grade. And I got my mother to give me one of her, outfits, and that looked way too old. And I ended up wearing a little sailor dress, which I felt, was in style at the time. That would at least was the in-between. Why I ever chose that, I don't know. What goes through your mind, but that seemed the most appropriate. And he never let me live that down. That I had a sailor dress. Oh yeah, I had the little white socks and little heel, and little sailor dress. But it was quite endearing. It was very endearing, and never in my wildest dreams did I think I would ever make an impression on him, ever. It was just, a few days after I, was home and back into school, that I get a telephone call that he wanted to see me again.
Have 2 years of sobering Army life changed your mind about rock and roll?
No, it hasn't. It hasn't changed my mind, because I was in tanks for a long time, you see, and they rock and roll quite a bit.
When I first met him, he was always in search. He first, wanted to know where his career was going to go, if he even had a career, because he was in the Army for, that span of time. Remember, he had left at the peak of his popularity. He had bought Graceland, he missed Graceland, he loved Graceland, because that was his first home that he had, that he could really call his, and he was very proud of it. So our relationship really blossomed and really bonded from his fears and his concerns. And I, as a listener, really not being able to offer that much, but I did offer compassion. And little did we know that our relationship was truly, growing. My parents obviously knew. They could not figure out what he could be talking to me about. They were petrified. And I didn't make it easy for them, because Elvis was calling me on a consistent basis. And we would have long, hourly talks early in the morning. They could not figure out what he could be talking to me about at all. What is this 24, 25-year-old man talking to my 15-year-old daughter about? What possibly could the conversation be? And I'm giggling, and I'm laughing, and I'm sad, and I'm crying, and it was a real disruption for them. I was the girl that kept the home fires burning. I was the girl that he called every single night, maybe twice a day. I was a girl that basically was left to take care of Graceland, but it was an understanding that it could not be announced, because there was a fear that it would ruin his popularity. And back then, it was so different than today, and we have to keep going back to the way it used to be. Right. It was not like it is today, where anything goes. There was a certain standard that you had to live up to. There was a certain expectancy of which if you were married or if you had a girlfriend, you lose your fans.
When he finally proposed, how did he do it?
Well, he came in. We had talked about getting married before, but never really set a date. He had this box behind his back, and he got on his knees, and he said, "I always told you when the time would be, and this is the time." And he gave me the box, and I looked at it, and I opened it, and it was my wedding ring. And it was just it was a very unlike Elvis, actually. You would never think that he would be so emotional and so caring about it. I mean, you would think he was carrying a child, the way he held the ring. It was almost like, I hope it's okay, or look what I got. He was like a kid, you know. His eyes got a little watery, and, you know, we both hugged, and he couldn't wait now for me to show it to everybody. We had to go downstairs and we had to show the ring to everybody, and it was a very, very beautiful experience, and it was time.
Why did you divorce?
It was just too difficult to watch somebody that had so much and could give so much, and not create any kind of an effect to help see where he could go with that demise. And I was lost at that time, and I had no identity. I really had no identity. I didn't even know who I was. I had a daughter of which I wanted to spend time with, and Elvis was quite demanding. You could not serve two masters. It was either him or the baby. So there was a lot of conflict during that time. Elvis, when you were married to him, you had to be with him on a 24-hour basis. There was no room for anybody else.
But he was a good dad,
He was
wasn't
a
he?
wonderful father, yes. But he didn't have her all the time. He wasn't like a full-time dad. It would be very difficult to bring a child on the road with you.
But she clearly adored him.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. They had a very loving relationship.
You write very vividly about the day the two of you officially were divorced.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a lot of care, and we were behind closed doors. We didn't settle in court, or did we ever publicize our divorce. We went in the judge's chambers, and I remember him very swollen. He had an outfit on that was like a sweat outfit, and I looked at his hands and they were puffy and swollen, and I looked at his face and his face was all very puffy, and he was dating Linda at the time, Linda Thompson, and I would look at him and I was rubbing his hands and asking him, was she taking good care of him, you know? Does she know how to take good care of him? Because I knew what it would take for Elvis. You had to nurture him and baby him and just know, you know, what to do for him. You had to mother him. And I remember being very tearful that he was being taken care of and he was okay, and we'd have a baby talk. We would talk all the time, and the judge is sitting right in front of us, and he said, "I've never seen a divorce like this. This is unbelievable. Are you sure you two want a divorce?" Because it was a lot of care and a lot of love, and it was a very difficult time for both of us.
If I can help falling in love with you.
He died, he was 42, I was 32 at the time, but we always had a continuing relationship. Our relationship really never ended. You know, we had a very loving relationship. You never thought anything would happen to him. He just seemed to always have the answers to everything. I mean, and he would always tell you not to worry about him and not to worry. He had everything in control. Don't worry, you know, I know what I'm doing. I know better than a doctor, and he would. He had his medical book right next to him. He knew what to mix, what not to mix. So he literally just felt that nothing would ever happen in that way, and I don't think any of us did.